Wow. Wow. So I was just listening to the BBC and I was getting, and even China and stuff like that. I'm like feeling whether people like to admit it nowadays or not, we still receive prophetic visions, prophetic messages. The wind. Because we could tap into the energy, the vibrations of what's taking place. And you guys can see the destruction that's all around us right now. And a few years ago, I think it was 2 years ago now, maybe a year, or is it a year ago or 2 years ago, when the last solar eclipse was? I think it was around in August. I think it was 2 years ago now. Yeah, 2 years ago now. I had a extremely prophetic vision. I was on my buddy Freeman Fly show about it. It's the whole reason why I ended up meeting Chris and Sherry Geo was because they saw me, I think, on that show, talking vision I had of the coming solar eclipse, and what I saw came to fruition exactly how I saw it. It's a frightful thing. It's an amazing thing, but it's a frightful thing sometimes too. I'm not going to get into what I saw then. You guys have probably heard it before. How I saw this huge, sort of like mantid insectoid octopus type huge thing in the sky, and then it all of a sudden manifested a huge face and all of these arms or tentacles and everything came out of it, and it was plugging in to the energetic layers of humanity, hooking their spines and sending shockwaves up their spines. And it was during the soul. I actually saw my vision again, and I was like looking at other people entranced by it, and I was like looking from the outside in at what I previously knew it was going to happen. It was like walking outside and stepping into a movie, like a slow motion. You're like, look, like it's like, oh shit, you're just locked on to the vibration that you once saw, and now it's the eternal now again. We have this eternal now. So things in that's coming to fruition. Every decision you make, everything you do second by second, it's changing the eternal now. That's why the future is not set in stone. Let's see. Morning. Now, guys, I've also have my, if you guys have just, before I start getting into it, my Patreon. I also have a GoFundMe link because I need a place, platform, and equipment to further my mission. And my family, we all need a place and a platform and equipment, computer. We need a new computer to do my radio show. We need a whole bunch of things, medical bills, all this stuff, because I really risked it all and walked away from that life of being stuck in warehouses and working those types of physical jobs. Even though I was like the head of like 30 men, and I was like a teacher at the warehouse. I was training everybody how to drive the equipment. I trained all the new people. It was like 14 hours a day on concrete, in boots, in poor conditions, getting treated poorly. I hadn't got a raise in almost 4 years. And I stood up for myself. I went and asked for a raise and told them how I was being treated. And I was walked to my car. And then they denied me unemployment, saying that I quit when I was fucking thrown out. You know, so literally I could have got another warehouse job, but I can't put myself in a prison anymore. I just can't do it. I have a book that I've been trying to work on, a comic book, music, my radio show, my research, my readings, my crystal, everything else. It has to all click. But, you know, my back's against the wall right now because I'm like at the point where, you know, I literally might have to take a physical, like a job like that. And I work those kind of jobs. I'm 41. I've worked those kind of jobs since I'm 15, you know, and I always just sometimes just went where the world took me spiritually. I would just go. And now I have a family. I can't just run around the world going where the voice takes me, you know. So I have to have a home base and equipment to get my you know, stuff going. So that's why I do have a GoFundMe, because believe me, I don't like asking for anything. It's just that it's not asking. We're all a team here. So if everybody can contribute $2, a dollar, it will benefit thousands upon thousands of people. You know, I'm not just some dude trying to watch TV all day and eat Cheetos. I don't even watch TV. I don't even have cable. I never even had cable in like 15 years. You know, I'm not that kind of person that would just take money and sit. You know, I'm a warrior. And unfortunately, you know, money's not my expertise. You know, I don't know how to market myself. I never tried to. You know, I only started coming into the public a few years ago because this kind of knowledge is meant for hereditary lines. It's not meant to be passed on like, you know, some of the stuff I've been sharing. So it's very controversial, but I felt like a couple of years ago, literally Spirit was telling me that it's time. The time is now to share this knowledge. If you hold on to it, it becomes evil pride, where you're looking down on people, where you're saying, well, why am I not sharing it anymore? People, before, we couldn't because we were burned alive. We were literally burned alive, you know? And I have emails. I can't even show you guys how many emails I get on a daily basis from people all over the world saying my radio show, my information, my live chats, my this, my that has changed their lives. So it's time for us all to get together and help each other out. Because God knows I've helped thousands upon thousands of people. So I today received information about Mount Coelius. Now, I have been getting intense feelings the last few years. You know, in the last several months, of course, I've been talking about the volcano come to fruition. It's not something that you really want to be right about, but it's what I saw. You know, it's what I know is happening. And when you get a prophetic vision like this, if no one does anything, nothing will be changed. So there's a reason why certain people receive these messages of prophecy, and I'm telling you that sometimes they're so strong, it's literally time stops for you, and you are in some sort of like ecstasy of shine, where you feel a radiating glow. You feel like how can I explain it the right way? A glowing membrane of energy around that literally makes time stop, and you don't know whether you're pissing yourself or you're fucking, you know, I'm serious. Like that's why the Catholics ecstasy visions, you know, because you literally have some sort of glowing membrane surrounding you and radiating you, and you know, and it's a knowing comes over you. It's not like you're sitting there and all of a sudden some dude, like, you know, plucks you out of this world and is like, hey, listen, buddy, this is what's going down, you know, on Mount Coelius. You're gonna this is gonna happen, and this is the time. It's not like that. It's like all of a sudden you feel this like radiating glow around you, right? And then you usually have like a symbolic picture in your mind, like in your psyche, like yeah, you'll see either some sort of symbol, some sort of coding, some sort of holographic image will emerge in your psyche, And then when you come out of this, you'll have some sort of visual experience, some encoding holographically in your psyche. And then when you come out of this moment, that you could have been sitting there for 20 fucking minutes, and it just feels like a pause, right? So when you come out of this, immediately you have to pay attention to the voice of the wind, to the spiritual omens around you. So what's coming to you, the knowing that you have at that moment, and what you're about to do. Wow, look at this. I'm right here, and look what's on the table here. I'm just walking by, and I'm at a store. I'm at a store about getting food, but look what's on the table outside the Angel Michael newspaper. I'm just looking there. Holy shit. Tell me that's not the spiritual sign I'm talking about. Lightning, death, judgment, and conversation. Dude, it's about a girl getting struck by lightning. Wow, that's crazy. So, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So, I had one of these experiences recently, and this happens, right as soon as it's done. You get like, you have a knowing, you just start doing things, and like as soon as I did it, I found this. I walked into this bookstore. I had an urge to go into there, and this is the bookstore that's at that uh, retreat center that I go to for Catholics. And as soon as I walk in there, I see the sign, and I'm just following the voice of the wind. I'm just following the voice of the wind. I see a sign that says 50% off all books in the back room. So as soon as I walk in there, there's all these new books, all the new stuff that's like 50% off, and then you have just one very, very old book sitting there. Very, very old book, and I look to it, and the binding's off of it, but it still has the pages inside the bindings like together, but just the binding, not the binding, the cover had fallen off, a hardcover, but the rest of the pages are all still bound together, but it's like put inside the cover still, and it says monks of the Old West. And the last time it was from actually from a convent, a nun convent, a nunnery, all women college of nuns. And the last time the book was checked out was 1936. From 1920s to 1930s. It was a book from the 1800s called Monks of the West. And I ended up buying it for $2, long story short. But as soon as I opened it up, that said Mount Coelius. And as soon as I saw that, I had a flood of visions came to me about this place. I was led to this book. I was led to that name. Mount Coelius, I believe, is in Rome, somewhere near there. And I believe there's a nunnery. I haven't done a lot of research on it yet, but I believe there's a convent there of some sort, that there's some sort of relic that was taken from there and brought back to Rome. And I know it has to do with Ceres or Minerva or Demeter or Isis or Diana, whatever we want to call her. But this goddess, whatever, if that's what you want to call her, this ancient higher being that long ago had received the technology or used the technology to take a physical form and matter on this realm. And they were giants, but not giants like 10 to 15 feet tall. I mean mountain size, bigger, where they can light their torch from the volcano. Like the Statue of Liberty size, like that. These beings are trying to but are waiting to take physical form again in our world. And Mount Etna, Stromboli, Santorini, Malta, Sardinia, all of these islands, the Greek islands of I think it was Patmos, where John the Revelator received the prophecy of the Book of Revelation. Uh, I can't think of the other islands now, but Crete, the island of Crete. I mean, all of these islands, they are going to reemerge again. There's going to be activity like long ago. Once again, these are entrance points, and I don't know if you guys have seen Stromboli or my postings on my Patreon about Stromboli, but they were literally, soldiers were already entering in through these volcanic portals. You could see the soldiers coming in. And this is the first step. This is the first step. The warriors are already coming in uniform. In uniform. You can see the soldiers in the smoke. And that volcanic smoke, the lava, everything that comes out of the volcanoes, it's encoded with information that is preparing for this shift. You know, when I first started talking about this, everybody said, oh, that sounds interesting, but a lot of people think it sounded crazy too, right? You guys are seeing what's happening. You cannot make this stuff up. It sounds like sci-fi, but our whole existence is sci-fi. You know, I mean, the people that even are worked in church today, if a lot of those people, if they were alive right now, they would be jailed. Even St. Francis of Assisi, I mean, he, first of all, you know, I've talked about a lot of different ones, especially with Padre Pio and different people who had stigmata. I'm pretty sure St. Francis of Assisi was the first motherfucker to have stigmata, take the wounds of Christ. And this dude was a born strega, a born benindante. I'm pretty sure he was born like me too, with the call around him. And he was able to connect to the voice of the wind and nature in ways that they won't allow today. I mean, I don't think most people even know about St. Francis of Assisi. This dude would get butt naked in the forest and communicate with the moon and the flowers and the animals, butt naked, you know. This is witchcraft rites, you know. This is ancient shamanism. He would get butt naked, and then he spiritual powers, his mysticism, channel into the dogmatic beliefs of the Catholic Church, and he took on their dogmatic symbols, and he literally had open portals of blood, stargates on his body for entities to come through, good or bad. He had open portals. It was open in blood on his body. This is how much spiritual power he had generated. And he was, you know, known as the living saint. When he was alive, the whole world knew about this guy, his powers, you know. And, you know, he was, I'm pretty sure he was the first one to ever have stigmata. You know, it wasn't called stigmata then. They just realized this guy just probably 700, 800 years after Christ or whatever it was. Maybe even way after that. I'm not sure. I think he was in like 11th century. I'm not sure exactly what his birthday was again. But this dude, I think, was the first one to ever take on stigmata. And I know, like, from things I've read about him and things that just came to me when I was reading it, you know, he was getting butt naked and doing shamanistic initiation type stuff in the forest. You can call him being a Catholic mystic if that's the way you want to spin it. But, you know, that's not what, you know, I don't know. That guy just thought I was a truck driver dropping something off because I'm standing there. But I definitely know that something was taken from Roman soldiers. For what I got a vision of something, and something was taken from Roman soldier. Roman soldiers took something from this Mount Coelius, and they brought it back, and it had to do with this goddess Minerva, or Ceres, whatever, you know. There's so many names, but there's something encoded within a statue, and I have to do more research to see if I can find something in history, because this this book that wasn't talking about what I'm talking about. I'll post it later what the book was actually talking about. It's talking about, and it's an amazing book. But it led me to this Mount Coelius, because I never even heard of this mountain before. I don't think. I don't remember. Let me see if anybody's in the chat room. Yeah, oh my God. I know, there's earthquakes. I mean, literally, guys, every few minutes, there's earthquakes. So if you guys didn't believe me a few years ago, when I said sleeping volcanoes and sleeping giants beneath the ground are awakening, man, I hope you believe me now. They are returning in a whole new form, though. Even if they have to wake the dead and encode those bodies, connect those bodies to their consciousness. Especially in my show tomorrow night, I'm going to be talking about the Merkava. I've talked about it before, but we're going to be talking about it in a whole new way that nobody's ever talked about before. Because we all have a way to transport between realms. When you activate yourself in dream time and your abilities, and it's interesting because even Larry, my buddy, shout out to my shaman buddy, Larry, free energy baby. Larry, we were even talking about it in an email. I fly in my spirit time, my dream time. You know, that's one of my main abilities, is to activate my flying between realms, between dimensions, if you want to say. And I'm literally flying in the other realm in dream time. And we all have this way of transporting ourselves, activating our Merkaba. And each one of us has our own activation code. Like mine, I put out my arms like I'm about to flap them like wings, and I go down and up real quick, and it like clicks on my Merkava, and then I'm flying. You know, Larry says like he has to point his wrist down in a certain way or something like that, but we all have a certain symbolic gesture that we do to activate our Merkava. And some people might not even be flying like literally like they're flying in the air. It might be different. It might be like you're running, but you're running like that. You don't actually see yourself running. You know you're running, and you're moving from dimension to dimension. Boom, 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 boom. You know, there's all sorts of, you know, some people could be swimming. You know, it's all different manifestations that you see. Who is trying to call me? Decline. So I know it wasn't my now, where else should we go real quick before I have to go in the store, and I'm fucking sweating my ass off out here. See this shirt? This is old school. This is back when I can actually, well, I could still kick some ass, but this is actually back when I was training. Yeah, you gotta be in a tournament in Thailand to get that shit. So, go to, shout out to Pattaya and the Sit Or old school camp. I don't know if you guys ever heard of the Muay Thai fighter, Someday M16. Man, he was like a little dude, about 130 pounds, but he could kick like a horse. I actually think he did MMA for a little while too. Damn, I can't think of his last name now. I know his first name is Someday, and it's spelled Somdej or Det. There's two ways of doing it. Someday, but he out danced my leg. Really, 130 pounds probably. Little, like 5'2", 5'3" maybe. And I'm 5'8", 5'7". So he